With ChatGPT and VS Code, you can build literally anything, even if you know nothing about Python or programming. Unfortunately, a lot of people are still afraid to start any project that involves code. And my goal with this video is to completely break those limiting beliefs and to show you that programming with ChatGPT is actually not only easy, but very fulfilling, and you will learn a lot. In fact, I don't even have any project chosen. I will let ChatGPT choose my project and I will do everything I can. And if I don't know how to do something, I will simply ask ChatGPT and it will tell me. Let's start by choosing the project. So I want to create some small project with Python. Give me 10 ideas. It's literally as simple as that. Okay, so we have 10 ideas from ChatGPT. To-do list application, I'm not really feeling that. Web scraper, we could do that. Simple chatbot, I mean, that's, that's probably a bit too much for a simple tutorial. Expense tracker, we could do that, although that sounds a bit boring. Game dev, that's definitely more exciting, but again, maybe a bit too advanced, although we could definitely make a snake. That's easy. Out of these 10, I'm probably most interested in the Morse code translator, to be honest. Tell me a bit more about the Morse. How would that look? Let's keep it simple and fun. After we get the basic outline, we're going to use VS Code. As you can see, I have a completely empty project. Again, like you don't need to know anything about programming or Python. Like you don't even need to know what a variable is. Like you can just ask ChatGPT to explain it, and it will do that. Okay, so it's going a bit too much, so I'm going to stop it right here. And now that we know what our project is, we're just going to copy this and use it as a comment. So, in Python, anything that starts with a hashtag is a comment. So I'm going to add this at the top. That way we can see what we're building, right? Before we start coding, I'm going to actually create a custom instructions. So Control-Shift-I brings up custom instructions. Now, if you're going to do some project that's, longer than 30 minutes, let's say, it's a good idea to create a new set of custom instructions just for this project. So I am building a Morse code translator, okay, in Python. I am using VS Code and I am a beginner when it comes to Python and programming. Now, how would we like ChatGPT to respond? Again, like custom instructions don't have to be overcomplicated, but like just doing this is already much better than not having any custom instructions. If you're actually trying to learn something as well, you don't want it to code everything and you just, get a block of code and you don't understand anything. So like, don't reveal the complete solution. Just give me hints. Every time you write code, include explanatory comments. So it's important to, you're building something. Leaving comments is not for some other people, it's for you. In the future, you want to go back, you want to see what you wrote. It's very good habit to have comments in your code. Keep your answers concise and relevant to my prompts. So we don't want like super long answers. Okay, so save. And now we have custom instructions, which means we have to reload, because every time you update the custom instruction in ChatGPT, they don't apply to this chat, because this chat, as you can see at the top, I created it without any custom instructions. So I have to go and create a new chat. And now all the new chats will be using the custom instructions we just created. So, every time you make a change, you have to start a new chat if you want those instructions to take effect. So we have a project chosen. I'm just going to keep it super simple so that it's not confusing. Literally like this. By the way, whenever you see this gray text, that's just my Copilot suggesting what I should do. So you can ignore that for now. By the way, I'm going to include the custom instructions as well as whatever we code in a GitHub repo, which is going to be the first link in the description. We could use advanced data analysis, but I think it's better to use the default one because of the GPT vision, which allows us to actually take screenshots and just paste them here, which is going to be even faster. So yeah, default GPT-4, and let's get started. So I'm going to copy this project because I don't want to type it. So I want to build a simple Morse code translator in Python. Help me create an outline for this project. Boom. And let's see what GPT-4 comes up with. Look at this. It even tells you to install Python and set up VS Code. So if you don't have VS Code set up, just ask ChatGPT and it will guide you through the process. It's literally so good because, you know, whenever you're asking a person, you don't want to look stupid or like asking dumb questions. But ChatGPT, like, it's a language model, like it doesn't care. You can ask it as many dumb questions as you want until you understand it. And trust me, like, I ask it dumb questions. I'm a bad programmer, to be honest. So I often like want to know the difference between a tuple and a list. So like, okay, so tuples are immutable, lists are mutable. I ask ChatGPT and I don't have to remember that stuff. And it tells me exactly what I need to know. So this is amazing. So like, let's say you don't have VS Code installed, just ask ChatGPT how to install it. And it will do this step-by-step process for anything. So like installing Python, ask ChatGPT, setting up VS Code, ask ChatGPT, and that's how you get to this position. And right now, as you can see in the previous chat, we didn't have this icon, but right now we do, so we can hover over it and we see our custom instructions. And that's how we know that we're actually using the new custom instructions that we created and that ChatGPT knows all this. So for example, here, I didn't say anything about VS Code and it referenced VS Code because it knows it from the custom instructions. This is the outline for the project setup. We have that. So, okay, right now we just look at it and this might seem overwhelming, right? So if something seems too much or, you know, you just want to break it down, say like, this outline feels overwhelming. Can you make it simpler and more high level? That way I know where to start. Again, you literally don't have to know anything about programming. Like, this is insane because 2 years ago, obviously, there wasn't any ChatGPT. Even a year ago, ChatGPT wasn't released, right? It was released in November. So, like, we couldn't do this. And now anybody can create any program. Obviously, you're probably not going to make a compiler with ChatGPT, but 95% of programs that you can make, that you can code, you can do, even if you don't know the language and if you don't know anything about programming. So, okay, let's see. This already looks like much more, you know, this is 10 steps, whatever, and this is 5 steps. Simplify it. Okay, so we have that. Create a dictionary for English to Morse and Morse to English translation. So, okay, so we probably need 2 dictionaries. User input, ask the user what they want to translate, and get the text to be translated. Okay, so to keep it super simple, we're probably going to start with English to Morse. Maybe we can add this later. So we're going to take user input and translate that to Morse. Now, personally, I know like almost nothing about Morse, so that's why I find this interesting, because I'm going to learn something. You know, that's the amazing thing about programming, is that if you're doing something that's outside of your comfort zone, you're like actually learning useful stuff. And like, even people think like there's not going to be programmers. Programmers are going to be people who know how to use these chatbots. And like, the more you know, the more limiting beliefs you destroy, and like the more projects you can build. So it's not about like remembering syntax. That's the old way. The new way is like having an idea, or, you know, like just deciding to do something. Like, as you said, like, I didn't even have the idea to do this. Like, I had no clue that I'm going to make a Morse code translator, but this was what ChatGPT suggested, and I thought it was a cool project. So like, all you have to do is decide and just use these tools, which are so good. So, okay, we have that. Step 1, create a dictionary. So we're going to create a dictionary. Super simple. Obviously, English to Morse. So we can literally call it English to Morse. That's Copilot. A little bit cheating, but I'm going to keep it simple. Now, if you don't know how to create a dictionary, you can ask ChatGPT, obviously. But, you know, it's literally 2 curly brackets. That's how we create an empty dictionary. Now, we obviously don't want it to be empty, because we want it to map the key value pairs of English characters to Morse characters. But we're going to do that, no worries. So we can actually do this. we need a dictionary for Morse code, exactly. Exactly, like this is why Copilot's so huge. Like it's $10 a month, and it's like saves you so much time for coding. But I'm gonna try to use it only a little bit so that you see, even if you can replicate it even if you don't have it. But again, like see, like I didn't have to type this comment out. It did it for me. So here, that's the first step. So obviously this is not gonna be enough, but I'm just gonna lay it out so we have it in VS Code. Data mapping, that's what we did. User input, all right. So we have to store user input into a variable and then convert it through the dictionary. So we're gonna just do a simple user string equals boom. Okay, let's write it out. So it's simple. So input is the way, to get user input in Python. So obviously, if you enter a string into an input, it displays a message. So this actually doesn't do anything. You can just like do this, and this is just, if we run the code, we're gonna see this nonsense, and that's just, what you can output to the user. So here we're gonna like enter a random English text, boom, and then when we run it, as you can see, where am I? Okay, wait. Boom, here. Enter a random English text. So here it is waiting for the user input, so I can just do like 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, enter. And obviously, since we don't have anything else, it's gonna take the input, store it into a variable, and that's it. So we need to obviously do something with this. So here we get user input. So this is the part where we get user input. And obviously, as I said, we're gonna expand on this. I'm just gonna lay out the plan into VS Code. That way we actually get moving, because we like right now we have been stuck in ChatGPT, and we actually have to put it into code. And guess the text to be translated. Okay, translation. Write a function. Ooh, okay, we're going to write a function. So if you don't, if you don't know what a function is, you're going to learn. And again, you don't have to know any of this. If something isn't clear, if you don't know how to set up an empty dictionary or how to get user input in Python, just ask ChatGPT. Don't be afraid to ask. Like, that's how you learn. You have to ask dumb questions to get better. And, the more you understand the fundamentals, the better you are. Because like if you try to skip the fundamentals, it's a bad idea, and you're going to get caught and, exposed or stuck later on. And that's bad. So, okay, next step is translation. Write a function. So I can just copy this. Now, obviously, a Copilot is going to suggest the entire function. So if I was, in a hurry or whatever, I would just steal this function, but we're not going to do that. But I can just, def an empty function. So we can do def, and we can do, we can name it translate, but we can do English, we can do, actually translate is kind of a good name. So I'm just going to do translate, and then use the string is going to be actually, let's name it something else. Translate is going to do text, and we're going to do return empty for now. We're going to keep it super simple. So this is obviously a useless function, but I'm just, again, I'm just creating the layout. So this function is going to take a text argument. So right now it's parameter when setting up, and it's going to return the translated value based on the dictionary and output. So obviously, output show the translated text to the user. So this is very simple. We're just going to do print, and then we call the function, but let's just do a simple empty print, which doesn't do anything. So, okay, let's test that our code works as it is. So it's super basic. So right now, obviously, this doesn't do anything. It just initiates an empty dictionary. Here we take a user input, which is a string, and we store it in a variable. So what we could do, like it's a very good idea to always test your code as you're programming. So we could just copy this and put it into our print statement. Now this is obviously useless, but we're gonna at least test that our user input works. So right now it should ask us enter a random English text. So we're gonna do castle, house, wall, whatever, enter, and it gives us back castle house wall. That's because we print out the string. So we know that this works, which is great. So, okay, we have this basic, and let's say we want to get started actually. So we have the setup. Again, if you don't have this, just ask ChatGPT or Google it, or there's infinite YouTube tutorials. You can set it up in less than 10 minutes, installing Python and setting up VS Code. It might sound intimidating, but trust me, it's much easier than you think. Now, we have that. So, step 1 done. Let's go and code step 2. Again, I'm just gonna tell it not to give me the complete solution, because ChatGPT is absolutely capable of doing all of this for us, but we wanna actually do something and we want to understand what we're doing. That way we can build upon it and improve our skills, because you don't have any advantage if, you know, all your skills can be done from ChatGPT. That's how people get replaced by AI. Now you want to use AI to improve your skills and get even better at using AI, and, you know, just enhance yourself with AI, not outsource everything to AI and like just stagnate. And people like don't think. So you have to keep your thinking and use AI to improve your skill set. That way you can do more and more, while other people just rely on AI and don't use it to improve themselves. So again, this might seem intimidating, so let's just do step by step. We have step 1 done, and let's do step by step. Let's go on step 2. Tell me what to do. Okay, actually, no. Point me in the right direction without revealing the complete solution. Again, I have it in the custom instructions, but I just want to clarify it. That way ChatGPT, you know, doesn't just give me everything and then we don't have anything to do. So, boom. Okay, so use pair5 dictionary day structure. We have that. English to Morse equals an empty dictionary. So obviously, you know, that's how we do a dictionary. If we wanted to do a list, it would be this. If we wanted to do a tuple, it would be this. Just, you know, a quick guide on data structures. Now we want a dictionary because why? Why do we want a dictionary? Why does ChatGPT suggest a dictionary? Again, we could ask it, but, you know, I know it, so I'm just going to explain it. The reason why is because we want to map English characters to Morse code. So dictionary is great. It's a collection of key value pairs, which is perfect because we want to give it a key, in this case an English character, and it's going to give us a value, so that corresponding Morse code. So dictionary is the perfect data structure for this. Now obviously we don't have to know any of that, and actually I can pretend that I didn't, because here in our previous prompt GPT actually suggested it. So you can ask it like, why a dictionary and not a list, if you want to know, but I just explain it. So okay, we're already getting some code, but yeah, okay. We need to create dictionaries, obviously, that map each English letter and number to its Morse code counterpart and vice versa. Now actually we don't probably need the vice versa. Again, maybe we can add that at the end, but let's just keep it simple and let's just do English to Morse for now. Hence, use Python. Okay, that's correct. Each key value pair should be an English character as the key and its Morse code. Yep. Now what I'm wondering right now is that, where are we going to get it? Should I get it from Google or should I get ChatGPT? I mean, okay, that's kind of, you know, obviously we're not going to ask ChatGPT to give us the actual Morse code characters, because, you know, typing out like what's the entire alphabet is like 30 characters or whatever manually, let's be honest, like it's 2023. We're just going to let AI do that. Okay, so each key value pair should be an English character as the key and it's Morse code. So, okay, I'm going to show you how it looks, right? So it's going to be literally key and then value, as Copilot suggested, and then comma and key value, right? So a super example is going to look like this, right? We're going to have, dude, Copilot is already suggesting it, but okay, A is dot and dash. So A and then dot and dash, dot and dash is going to be the value. So this is a key and this is a value. And then we have B and boom, C and D. I mean, I could type it out with Copilot. Obviously, I could get it to create the entire function. So I could literally do this like, you know, create a dictionary that maps English characters to Morse code, and it's gonna do that. But actually, Copilot is using GPT codecs. It's using GPT-4, so it's basically very similar to what we're getting in ChatGPT. So as you can see, it did that for us, but I'm gonna discard it and I'm gonna show you how to do this with ChatGPT, because that's the point of the video. Okay, so we have the outline here. Obviously our code does nothing. So let's actually make progress here. You might consider adding a space character mapping for both dictionaries as well. Oh, this is an interesting hint. Actually, I didn't think of this, so very good suggestion from ChatGPT. So here is a small snippet of an example for English to Morse, right? Now this is, obviously this is adding it manually, so this is a slow way. But we just want to, we don't want to type out manually every single character in Morse code. So we're gonna ask ChatGPT to do that. So, okay, we have an empty dictionary. So I have an empty dictionary. Can you please generate the mapping of English to Morse as key value pairs? Here is my code, and I'm actually going to show you how GPT vision is so great when coding, because you don't even have to copy it over. You can just take a screenshot, and I can do boom, taking a screenshot of our code. It's saved in my clipboard, and boom, I just paste it here, and it's gonna see that code. I don't even have to copy. Obviously, I could copy paste it, and that's also easy, but this is even better because it's kind of more visual. I'll provide you with a starting set of key value pairs for the English to Morse. So this is exactly the type of stuff that you don't want to do manually. Like, let's be honest, a human, no human wants to do this, like that manually mapping A to dot dash B to dash dot 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 dot. It's like, this is perfect task for AI. So we're gonna get this, and did it map the space? Oh wait, it's mapping the numbers. Wait, is this 0 or O? Okay, so it suggested to map a space character, but I don't think it did, because I don't see it right now. Okay, either way, we can copy the code, obviously, and we can replace our empty dictionary, Control V, with the code. So wait, let me delete this. So again, super simple what we did. We just asked ChatGPT to do the most boring part for us, because I don't know about you, but I don't remember every single Morse code character. So instead of trying to Google it and then manually typing it out, or trying to search if someone on Stack Overflow already did that, which probably they did, it's much simpler to do everything from ChatGPT. Now, I'm actually curious, right? It suggested this, so I'm gonna ask it. Earlier, you suggested this. Boom. Why did you suggest that? And have you okay, so, and why did you not include it in the dictionary? I mean, it's kind of obvious why, it suggested that, because while translating text, we are gonna have some spaces, so it's good to have that mapped, because if we didn't have that map, we would get an error, obviously, when we call the dictionary. Great catch. So again, ChatGPT isn't perfect, so it's actually good to pay attention and read what it's saying. That way, you still have some leverage as a person. Like, long-term memory is something that ChatGPT sucks at. So if you pay attention, you're gonna catch mistakes that it does. So the reason I suggested adding a space character is that a typical Morse code translation, individual letters within a word are separated by spaces. So we're taking input text from a user, which is probably going to include spaces. So we need to have that mapped. Entire words are separated by 3 spaces. Okay. I did not know that, but we can definitely program that. Yeah, that's a good point. We need a way to see when, you know, there is a actual space and there is a words, because like each of these characters are separated by a space or like a gap or a pause, you know, because like there's pauses between each. Now the pause has to be longer if it's words, so we have to code 3 spaces to be equivalent to a space between words. Okay, it's gonna explain what it does. This is 3 spaces. English to Morse. Okay, wait, it's actually kind of suggesting something else right now. But for the purpose of simplicity in our translator, we can use a single space to denote the end of the word and some other character, like a forward slash, end of a letter. What? Okay, so it's actually, I think, it says it's more straightforward, but it might be more complex. Okay, so I think adding a slash is actually more complex. Let's do this the legit way. What a prompt. But okay. So again, we can just take it and boom, say take a screenshot of it so it knows our current state of code. Obviously it knows it from before, but let's say we change something. So let's do this the legit way. What should I change about my dictionary to include mapping of the space character? Whatever, it doesn't need to be grammatically correct. So it just, you know, obviously we have already the entire alphabet and we have the numbers, which is great, but we also need to add the mapping of a space. So it's going to take 1 space into 3, right? You can see 1, 2, 3. So we're going to copy this line of code and we're going to paste it here. Now, as you can see, it's going to be an error. And why is that? Because we need to add a comma, you know, between every key value pair. So have key value, there needs to be a comma in a dictionary. So this is just Python syntax. But again, like if you tried running this, you would see an error in the terminal and it would tell you, or you can just always ask ChatGPT, why am I getting this error? And will tell you. So this looks good to me. Again, maybe I'm wrong. So we can move on to the next step. So we have the dictionary for Morse code. We have the entire alphabet, numbers, and the spacebar. So this is basically, you know, whatever you're gonna type, this is gonna map it. Now, actually, this is all capital numbers, so capital letters. I'm just gonna ask a clarifying question because I don't know this myself. In Morse, is there any difference between capital and non-capital letters? There probably isn't, but I just wanna clarify it. Okay, so there isn't. That's why it's doing caps, because, you know, it's basically more visible, I guess, or more traditional. It's like, you know, you see a capital A, it's much more recognizable than lowercase. So this is good to know. like obviously when you're trying to code it, you have to learn some facts about the project. So I did not know this. I mean, in hindsight, it's kind of self-explanatory, but yeah, again, there are no dumb questions when it comes to programming. It's like, it's much better to ask it than to assume, right? So A, capital and lowercase, both translate to dot dash. Beautiful. So we have this outline. Let's move to the next step, which is get user input, which we are getting already. So we can actually probably move on to the next step, writing the function. So right now we take user input, but we don't do anything with it. So we need to actually do something, use this dictionary in some way on the user input, and then print out the result. So let's see. We can just tell ChatGPT the exact state we're in. So, okay, let's go back here because it laid out a step-by-step plan. Data mapping user input. Okay, so again, step 1 is this. We can just make it a bit more organized. Step 1 is this. Step 2, get user input. That's done. And this is step 3. Write a function. And this is step 4. So actually you can do everything in 4 steps, which is beautiful. So we have step 2 done. This is very simple. 1 line of code. Call an input, which gets stored into the user string. We already tested that it works. So let's go into the function, which is probably the most complex part of the code. But again, if you don't know anything, you can just ask. So I'm just going to copy this because I don't want to type it out. I have completed steps 1 and 2. Now I want to do and paste, boom, step 3, write a function. Again, I'm just going to say that give me hints and pointers how to do this, but do not reveal the complete solution, because I actually want to do some programming. I want to learn. I want to get better at Python, and I want to expand my knowledge what's possible. Because if you copy paste everything, you're not going to learn anything, and you're not going to expand your possibilities, and you're going to be just as limited as everybody else. We don't want that. We want to become better. Case instead of it. Okay, so here's a breakdown of what you can consider for step 3. So, okay, if we know that everything is caps, we're probably gonna call a method that's built into Python that's gonna take the user input, or take the parameter in the function, and it's gonna make every letter uppercase. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. So we can do text, and we can do text dot, and obviously you can see that Copilot is already suggesting it. But if you don't know what it is, then you can just do dot and wait. I think with Copilot it doesn't even suggest that. Okay, so if you don't have Copilot, it should probably be suggesting the possible methods on the text. But yeah, it's text.upper. Again, ChatGPT is probably going to suggest this, right? Convert to text to a consistent case. Okay, beautiful. So it gives us the layout. It doesn't do the actual, what's it called? Coding. It doesn't do the actual coding, but it just tells us via comments what to do. So we can even copy those. So let's read it. Case insensitivity. Okay, so we need to convert the text into a single case, which in this case is going to be uppercase because we have the dictionary in uppercase. Again, that's why it's good to understand your code, because if you're just copy pasting everything, you're going to miss out on these important details. Looping through the text. So then we loop through the text and look for each character in the input. So this is a string, user string. We're getting a string from the user, but these are individual characters. So we probably need to process that string somehow. And we're going to do that by splitting it up into characters. So we're gonna loop through every single character in the user string, and then we're gonna map each character into Morse. Because if we try doing this, which is a string, it will be an error because we don't have mapped every single string, that would be impossible to map that in a dictionary, you know, because like you can enter any text, you can enter your name or whatever you want, and it's gonna map it to Morse. So we have to break into characters. So the first step, which I identified earlier, but ChatGPT confirmed it, is to convert text into uppercase. The second step is to loop through every character in the user string. Now let's see what ChatGPT does. Looping through text, handling spaces. If you encounter a space in the user's text, I don't know why this is suggested as an extra step, because we have the space mapped in the dictionary. So that's kind of a weird stuff. Maybe I can ask it why it did that. Consider what would happen if a character in the user's text is not found in your dictionary. Okay, that's true. That's true. Very good. We definitely want to handle errors. We probably don't need to do that at the start, but we're gonna add that later on to improve our code and write a better program. Return the translated text. Function signature. So this is, you know, just gives out and then tests. So yeah, this kind of laid it out. It probably should be simpler, but okay, let's not just be blind and let. Okay, so actually here, this is a good idea. So we're gonna follow ChatGPT. So right now we have the layout over here. Convert the text into uppercase, so we can slowly start implementing that. So by the way, this is just the name of the parameter, you know. We're obviously gonna pass the user string in there, but right now we're coding within a function, and the function is just a small piece of code that you can reuse over and over. That way you don't have to rewrite it, right? Because like if this program gets longer, we don't have to copy paste this. We can just call the name of the translate function, and it's gonna execute this block of code every time. So we have to work with text. So text.upper. Now this is not going to do anything because we have to do text equals text.upper. So right now it updates the text into uppercase. So we can actually even test this, right? And return text. So this is a super dumb function that just takes any text and makes it uppercase. So let's even test this by taking the user input, and then right now we have to do print, and then exactly this, right? So Copilot suggested that. So we're gonna do print, and then we call the translate function, and this is gonna execute this, and as the argument we're passing the user string. So we can actually test even this. So I'm just gonna do Python. I'm just gonna type Python, and let's see. It capitalized it. So we know that this works. We know that this simple step works, which this is why it's good to always test in small increments, because, you know, if you write 50 lines of code or like 100 and then you run the test, like this is the likelihood of there being something wrong is much higher than if you just write a couple of lines, run the test, okay, it works, and continue. So obviously we don't need this, so we can delete this, and then we can continue. So this is the first convert the text into consistent case. Okay, we did that. Initialize an empty string for the Morse code results. So how do we do an empty string? Well, it's very simple, right? So we can do Morse string, doesn't really matter what we name it, and this is how you do an empty string. You do 2 quotation marks and you don't put anything in it. So if you do it A, or like ABC, this would be a string with ABC inside, or like David, so my name, obviously, or like Python. So this would be exactly, this string would be equivalent to our previous user input because we typed in Python. but we want an empty, so we delete everything, and there is not even a space. See, like there is nothing here. So this is an empty string. So that's, we just initialize it. Now we're gonna return this at the end, but you don't have to know that right now, so we can delete this. So okay, Copilot, get out. All right, this is just ignore the text because Copilot is already getting ahead. But yeah, let's use ChatGPT. Even if you don't have Copilot, you can still do all of this from ChatGPT. Convert text into consistent case, check. So actually I'm gonna make it like, I'm gonna do it super, I'm gonna include all the comments so you know what each line does. So this line takes the text and just saves it. It's like updates it, right? So text equals text.upper. So this takes the text and calls the upper method, which makes every single character uppercase, the entire string uppercase, and it saves it back into the text variable. So right now, which is what we already tested, right now the text is all uppercase, which is good. Now next step is we have the initialize empty string, which is what we have here. So I'm adding these comments so that you can see, you know, this, like this line does this. So if you're super beginner, you see everything clearly. Now we do loop through each character in the text. So we have a couple of options. Obviously there's like while loop, for loop, but as you can see, Copilot is already suggesting the for loop. Now why is the for loop good? Well, because in this case we know the length of the stuff we're looping through, right? Because while loop is usually where you don't know how many times you're going to loop, but for loop, in most cases you're going to use a for loop. But again, if you don't know which one to use, just ask ChatGPT and it's going to explain which one is better. So here, loop through each character in the text. So we're just going to do for character, or we can do C. That way it's not named the same way as Copilot says it. For C in text. Now, you might be confused how Python knows that C stands for character, because you can just name this literally anything and this is gonna still work. So how does it know that this should be a character? Because it doesn't matter what you name it. Well, it knows that because every object or data type, if it's iterable, it has basically Python knows like what you're iterating through, right? So let's say in a dictionary, if we were going through the dictionary, it would be going through the keys. That's for the dictionary. If we're going through the list, it's going through the values in the list. But let's say you have a string. So you might say, well, string, what's it going through? Well, every string has characters, right? So it automatically knows that this means characters, even though it's a completely stupid name. Python automatically knows that, text, if that's a string, it's gonna go through the characters. But we're gonna name it actually car. That way it's, it's a mnemonic name or whatever. You understand what it is. If you name it some blah, 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 like you wouldn't understand later on, and it just leads to confusion. So for char in text, it means for every character in text, what do we want to happen? What do we want to happen for each character in the text? Copilot already tells us what we should do, but let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? Your translation logic here. So this is good because I asked ChatGPT to give me hints and pointers, but not reveal the complete solution. And the for loop is actually the main part of the code of this function. So this is where we have to do thinking, because this is the main purpose of the function, and return the Morse code result. So obviously, as I said, we're gonna return the Morse string, but right now Morse string isn't anything, it's still an empty string. So we have to update the for loop to do something. So for character in text, what do we want to do with every character? We want to change it. We want to update the Morse string to using this dictionary on our text. So I'm actually gonna, short circuiting, even though it's kind of obvious. But as you can see, Copilot tells us to do what we need to do. So, more string. Okay, I'm gonna break it down super simply, right? So, loop through each character in the text. Let's do comment. No, we're gonna add that later on. This is good. This is, like, it's already suggesting us like stuff that's really good to implement, like checking and catching errors. But like, let's keep it super simple. So I'm gonna do update the bro, Copilot is amazing. I just can't resist. Update the Morse string variable with the Morse code for the character. So Morse string, we could do equals, but actually we want to add to it. So we do plus equals, which basically means like, you take the, like basically here we take, like obviously you can't do it because it's you're calling a method, but like plus equals means you take the same number and you assign something to it. So let's say like 1 plus equals 1 is 2. Because you take 1 and it basically says like 1 equals 1 plus x. So here we do plus equals. I mean, I can just write it out because this is just like exactly this. Like this is beautiful. Plus equals means this. So it takes the Morse string and it adds something to it. But this is long. So you just do plus equals, right? So right now we're updating the Morse string with something. So what do we want it update? How do we want to update it, right? So we have the dictionary. So what can we do, right? Well, we want to use the dictionary to find the character. Because keep in mind, we're in the for loop. So inside of the for loop, for every character, we want to add to the Morse string dictionary its equivalent in Morse code. So we call the English to Morse dictionary, and then using this syntax, which is how you specialize which key to call, you type in car. Now obviously you might say, oh, well, car, it's not mapped in here, but car is just the alias. It's the variable name. Inside of that variable it's going to be the value, and that's going to be again every character in the text. So it's not like that we're literally passing car, which obviously isn't mapped in our dictionary. It's going to represent one character. So this is going to run for every character in the text. And I don't actually feel like okay, do we need to add a space? We probably do, right? We probably do need to add a space, right? So yeah, we need to add a space. So the reason why we need to add a space is because, we have this for the, okay, so this is actually might cause problems. This might, okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna do 30 more minutes, yeah. Alright, so let's think for a second. You might not realize this, but you would see it later on. But right now, if we do it like this, adding a space, it's good. But then again, if we're doing this, it might be trouble because it would add a third space, which could mean that we could technically make this 2 spaces only. Okay, we'll see. Let's keep it like this. I don't want to make it too complex for the first try, but like I can already see that this might be an issue, because if this is a space bar, it would add another space bar, which would mean it would not be 3, which is the Morse code equivalent. It would be 4. Okay, so let's actually handle this right now. So if car equals space, oops, come on man, let me code. No, we're gonna skip this. What's the best way? What's the simplest way to code this? If characters equals space, okay, yeah, So if character equals space, then we do just this part. Then we do just this part without the space. And then we do else, and in the else we do this. So if the character is a spacebar, we don't add the extra spacebar because we already have that mapped. But if it's any other character, we need to add the spacebar. That way each letter is actually separated. So we're using a simple if-else statement that handles this. Unfortunately, I don't think how to make this, like, we could probably make this simpler, but I think this is, for now, pretty simple. So, okay. Next step. Okay, actually, what am I saying? This is finished. So, now we know. This is how we, like, this is the return is the keyword. It's a reserved keyword in Python, which, you know, signalizes what the function actually gives back. So, you know, make the function give back the new Morse string. So that's how we do this. So this is our function. It's still quite a simple function, but for our purpose, it's useful. Now let's test it. Before we do anything else, let's test it. So we're asking for the user input, which is a string, and then let's pass it. So let's print it out. Print, translate, and then user string. So again, what this does, you can even break it. Well, I mean, probably like this is already pretty simple, but I'm trying to explain it even simply, right? Even more simply. So we're printing something out, right? We're printing something. Right now, this would print nothing. We just print an next line, just an empty line. We want to print something, so we call the function. But right now, if we did this, the function doesn't have any argument, so it wouldn't give us anything. So we want to put the argument as the user string, which we get earlier by asking for the input. So this actually doesn't run here. It's only written here in the code. It doesn't run here. It runs after we call it. So when the code gets to line 43, you know, like when the code is going from the top, obviously. So here it initializes the dictionary. Here it asks us for the input. This only stores it into memory, but it doesn't do anything with the function. Only here, when we're calling the print, so it wants to print something, but then it needs to call the function in order to print the value. So it passes the user string and then calls the function. Only here, it goes back the code and executes this, converts it to uppercase, initializes an empty string, which is going to store the new Morse characters. And for every character in the text that we pass, which in this case, as you can see, translate, and boom, here the argument is user string. So for this text, just imagine this is user string. So uppercase, boom, boom, for every character in text, it's going to break it down. If it's a space, it's just going to add 3 spaces, which is the mapping. But if it's not a space, it's going to visit this dictionary, pass the key, which the key is the character, find out the value, which is the Morse code equivalent, and then add the spacebar, which is how you separate it in Morse code, which, you know, I personally didn't realize it, but again, ChatGPT helps out with that. No, wait, hopefully my camera isn't blocking. Yeah, okay, it's all good, actually, it's all good. So, all right. Okay, so yeah, let's test it out. Enter a random English text. So we can literally do a random English text. A, B, C, A, F, G, whatever. So this is a random English text. We do enter. And we have the Morse code. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's literally, obviously, you probably won't, you know, maybe you can just implement this in a website or whatever, but it's already pretty amazing, right? What you can do with ChatGPT with zero knowledge. So you can see our input was our random English text. So it takes character by character, and we can see R, indeed this is R, indeed this is A, and as you can see it's 1 space between the characters and then 3 spaces. Okay, so this is actually still 4 spaces because it's a space after. I don't know if this is the best way to handle this. It probably isn't. It's probably okay. So I'm just gonna because okay. So this is, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the reason why that occurs is because we are passing the space which is after the character. So in this case it's M, and then it has the space bar. So we can just do a super simple test. You can just literally select this, copy, go into ChatGPT, and then is this correct Morse or not? Boom. Okay, so let's say, I don't know if it's an issue, so I'm just gonna ask, but isn't it an issue that we have 4 spaces between the words instead of 3? Okay, so let's fix it, right? So actually, I don't think this is the best way to do it. We're gonna delete that. This simplifies our function, only adding the letters and numbers. Now we're gonna handle it in here. So if a character is a space, which means it's a space in the text, we're gonna do more string plus equals, and we're gonna do 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Actually, sorry, only 2. Because before a space, well, unless we're starting, the sentence with a space, which is very unlikely, we're gonna have the space. So because after we're already here, we're adding a space, but after every single normal letter and number, right? So if we want to have 3 spaces in the gaps between words, we only need to add 2. So if a character is a spacebar, as you can see, beautiful VS Code makes it visualized, we only add 2 spaces. So now we should add hello world 1, 2, 3. We get the Morse code, and we can copy this again and ask, is this better? Oops, I didn't include it. Is this better? Boom, save and submit. And it's fucking, I don't know why it's so slow. Okay, yes, that looks better. So we have the basic functionality done. I mean, okay, I don't know why I put it here. It's literally step 4. So let's take a look. We initialize the dictionary. We take user input, store it into a string. We set up a function called translate, which takes the text and translates it to Morse. Now, let's say we want to do back. We want to take Morse and put it into English. Wait, one. Oh, it's okay. So this is quite long. All right, so this is already a really nice program. That's only 42 lines of code, including the comments. Obviously, we could make it less, but this is much more visual. So how could we improve it? Okay, before we add the bigger functionality, we should probably add handling errors, because let's say I type in hello world smiley face. We get an error. Why? Because obviously this is not included in the mapping, because Morse code doesn't include smiley faces, at least I think. So I'm just gonna ask, what if the user input is hello world smiley face? Does Morse code include special characters? or should we handle that differently? Okay, so Morse code does have some special characters, but not all of them. So yeah, I probably would lean towards updating the dictionary to adding the most, like, you know, punctuation exactly. So again, Copilot does that for us, but we're not gonna use this, or I'm just gonna do special characters, boom, and then I'm gonna ask it to do it. So give me the key value mappings for our dictionary for all the special characters that are included in Morse code. Because I don't know but obviously there's gonna be dot and like the most used ones, like exclamation, question mark, but you know, comma, exactly. Though the most used ones are gonna be mapped, but you know, you're not gonna probably have, like, I don't know, percentage point, I guess not, or like reverse dash, or like curly braces. Some programming letters probably won't be mapped. I don't know what's going on here, so something went wrong. I'm just gonna do regenerate. Hopefully ChatGPT doesn't crash on me. So okay, beautiful. Special to Morse. I don't know why it doesn't matter. We're just gonna add it into the single dictionary to make it simpler. But the English to Morse. So let's think about how we would do Morse to English, right? We don't have to actually initialize a new dictionary. We can use list comprehensions, or like just comprehension, not list, because it's going to be a dictionary again. But basically we can create the mapping very easily and without... Whoa. Okay, I was wrong. Oh my god. We have so many more characters in Morse code than I thought we did. Oh my dude. Okay. So apparently Morse code, okay, it doesn't have percentage points, so I was right about that, and it doesn't have curly braces. So I'm gonna copy this. Obviously we're gonna include it in our dictionary, so I'm just gonna paste it in here. Oops. Okay, actually let's only copy this. We have to make sure that it's all, I mean, obviously here it doesn't matter, but like, it's nice to have it organized. This is an unofficial code, but it's sometimes used. It's often used. Okay, so these two are unofficial, but these are official. So as you can see, the dictionary has expanded, but it doesn't matter because we're like, you know, putting everything on a single line, which is only done for you know, simplicity, because you can see the comments from ChatGPT. It explains every single, like how each character is called and the Morse code equivalent. So this is good. We have updated the dictionary. So now actually we do include colon, and we do include the smiley face. So if we run the same test and we do hello, what the, okay, oops, that was a mistake. The cursor should go in here. So hello world smiley face. This should no longer be an error. As you can see, it's not an error because we have added this into the dictionary. So Python knows what to do. Now we should still, you know, let's try something else. Obviously we know that percentage point, come on, we know that percentage point is not in the dictionary, so we can do 1 plus 2 equals 5. This should work, right? But if we do 5%, okay, if we do like let's see, if we do 10% of 100, this isn't gonna throw an error because we don't have percentage handled. So we should update our function for error handling. And obviously we can do a try except and check if the character is part of the dictionary. But let's say we don't know that we should do that. Let's say we're getting this error and we don't know how to fix it, but we're just gonna show ChatGPT the current code. So this is how my current for loop looks like. I want to somehow catch errors, like when the user includes characters such as percentage that isn't in Morse. How do I do that? Do not reveal the solution, just give hints. Because if I don't repeat this, ChatGPT is just gonna try to solve it as fast as possible, and it's gonna give me the exact code, which takes away from the fun of coding. So right now, we're on the right track. We want to make it bulletproof. That way, if some user wants to troll us by adding characters that aren't in Morse code, we don't get an error and our code doesn't break. We want to catch that, obviously. And let's see. Using dictionary methods, there is a method for dictionaries. So let's check if a key exists. So this is the get. This is the get method. I don't think that's good here. Conditionals, you can add an if statement. But I think the best way is actually to do the exception handling. I think that's the best way. I mean, again, I might be completely wrong, but you can grab the code where you access the dictionary and try block and catch the specific exception. So this is a very good point. This actually, a lot of people just do try except and they don't they don't include specify the actual exception. They just make it general, which is bad practice because the longer your code is, it can catch errors that you don't want to catch. And then you don't know why your code isn't working because you're try accepting everything and not just the correct stuff. So we need to look what type of exception is it. So if we include percentage point, we're getting key error. Okay, so we're gonna copy that and we only want to catch key errors. So this needs to be looped. Oops, sorry. Let's follow what ChatGPT says us. We want to use try except. So we want to try something, and if it works, then beautiful. But if it throws an exception, we want to do something else. So try, and then we need to tab it out because Python is sensitive on indentation. And then we do except. Beautiful. Obviously, Copilot already knows. But most people would do this, right? Most people would just do except, and this is general. So no matter what error happens, this would print out invalid character. But there could be a different error. So we want to actually specify the key error. So only when key error happens, we get this. Because we don't want to print out invalid character if it's a different error. Because that just, makes our code confusing. So what this is going to do is we're going to try this piece of code. And if it works without issues, beautiful. We just skip this and we return the Morse string. But if it, for some reason, obviously we know that this is a key error, but this is not going to happen and we're just going to print out this. So we can try it. So again, we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, all of these are legit. And then we do curly braces, which are not legit because they are not in Morse code, and enter invalid character. and it still did the one. Yeah, it still did the 1, 2, 3, 4 because it was before. You know, like it's doing that for every character. So wait, actually. Okay, this is. I don't know if this is the best way to do it because, you know, if we include the invalid character at the start, it's not gonna convert the rest of the text because before it was at the end. So I'm thinking we should change this. Actually, we should. Okay, let's delete it. And inside of the for loop, we should do it inside of the for loop. That way, it only, you know, it only accepts for that specific character. So no, okay. Actually, it doesn't need to do anything. I don't know why it suggests me to return nothing. But let's see. We should do bum bum. Oops. All of this is legit. All of this is legit. And then we do curly braces. And we do some text. And it points it out. And it ignores it. Oh wait, what this is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that because of the character? Oh, it's because the space bars, right. Ah, that's unfortunate. But I think that if it's an extra character, it should delete it. Yeah. So if it's an extra character, it should probably delete from the last 2 string. It should strip the string. So okay, so we need to remove the last space bar, because if you're gonna ignore it, or I guess we could replace it with, I don't know, we could just replace it with X maybe. We could just like choose, you know, we can decide which of these characters, or maybe question mark, you know, whatever. We can choose one of them to be as like a placeholder that we give. That way our Morse code is still, you know, still works. Maybe we can do this actually. Ampersand. I had no clue that it was called ampersand, but okay. Okay, I don't know. I'm just gonna, like, let's say I don't want to think. Like, I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT. So we are successfully catching the invalid characters. However, the Morse now includes extra spaces, because if I do ABC, percentage ABC, the space bars around the invalid character percentage are still included. What do you think is the best approach? Removing the space bars, using a placeholder letter or character for all the invalid ones, or something entirely different? We're just gonna make ChatGPT think and explain its reasoning. And it's actually a good point. We can like we can initialize our own new Morse code character. I think option 4 is actually kind of good because it, you know, includes the invalid character in the Morse string, so we can actually, you know, we can actually you know, we can do this and then yeah, so this should probably work. So we should do, you know, Python %Python, and it outputs the percentage. Obviously, you know, if we want to send raw Morse code, then this is bad, but for our purposes, this should be good. So let's see. We have a dictionary that's pretty beefy because we include every single letter, every single number, and all the special characters which are included in Morse code, including these two, which apparently are not usually included, but I don't know, ChatGPT somehow pulled them out. So ChatGPT knows something we don't. Now this is interesting because, you know, whenever you use the different quotation marks, you have to use, like in Python you have the single or a double straight, you have to use the different one. So as you can see here, double quotation mark is in singles, but the single has to be in doubles. So like you can see all of these are singles, but when you do want to do the apostrophe, whatever single, you have to use doubles to check it. But I think this is honestly really solid. Like this, we have did this in like less than 90 minutes. And if you don't know anything about programming, anything about Python, like this is a pretty solid first project to build, you know, taking a string from the user, like, hello world, my name is David, enter, and you get the Morse code. So like, you don't have to know Morse code, and you have this program to do that for you. Just pretty damn neat. So 70 lines of code, including, you know, spaces and comments, whatever, and nice formatting. But dude, we have a dictionary, which is very large. We take the input from a user, we create a function where we make the entire string uppercase, we initialize an empty string, and then we use a for loop where we use a try except. So this is like, here you learn how to use a for loop, what try except does, if else statements. So like, dude, in this single function you learn so much about programming, it's amazing. And again, if you don't know what for loop does, if you don't know what try except does, just like literally take a screenshot. ChatGPT, can you explain what the try does in this code? Ask a question. It doesn't matter how dumb it sounds. It's going to look at it, use its vision capabilities, and it's going to explain. Try is being used. It's executed first, If everything executes without any errors, except block is skipped, as I explained. If there is an error, then the code stops executing. So boom, boom, there is an error, it stops executing and goes immediately into accept, and it executes these 2 lines. So you can, again, I'm gonna leave a link in the description which goes to the GitHub repository. So I'm actually gonna, terminal, new terminal, and I'm gonna do git add dot, and then I'm gonna do git commit, and this is gonna be actually, this is kind of a bad practice because I should have been committing throughout, but I'm gonna do project complete, and this is gonna, do the commit. I'm just gonna push, and that's it. And this is gonna be the link. So this is gonna be in the description. The repo is public, so you can take this code, do whatever you want with it. And if you want to build this yourself, or if you want to build anything else, literally, you can do anything with ChatGPT. And hopefully I've proven that with this video. Like, you could have built this with zero knowledge of Python, zero knowledge of programming, zero knowledge of Morse code, which is basically me. And you have a working Morse code translator in less than 90 minutes. Now, if you're new to programming, this could break so many of your beliefs and show you what's possible with the use of ChatGPT and GPT-4. So if you want me to build this, and if you want me to improve this project and add, Morse to English, or some more functionalities, make it visual, add some GUI, some maybe sound, so it's actually Morse code, like we can do that. So if you want me to do that, let me know in the comments. If you want me to build a different project or show you how to do something completely else with ChatGPT, I'm gonna do that. Like, the opportunities are literally endless, and you can build anything you want. Just all it takes is a decision. You can decide to do something. If you don't have, you don't even need the idea. Like, that's crazy. Like, you can just ask ChatGPT for ideas, choose the one which suits you the best, which is exactly what I did over here. I've selected, asked it for 10 ideas. The first 9 I decided not to do. I chose the Morse code translator. I asked for a bit more info. It kind of laid it out for me, and then already started giving me the code, so I stopped it. Then we created the custom instructions. Super simple. I'm gonna also include these in the GitHub repo, and these are specifically for this project. So whenever you're starting some different project that's gonna take a couple of hours, it's definitely worth spending 5-10 minutes setting up your custom instructions, so that ChatGPT knows what you're working on and what you want it to respond like. And then I switched up the chat because I wanted to have the new custom instructions, and I literally built the entire thing from the ground up using just ChatGPT. Like, you don't have to know any of this. You can ask ChatGPT what def means, what input means, what if else means. Like, it's literally the best time to be a programmer because you don't have to remember syntax. All you have to do is decide to build something and just go and start building it. That's it. Like, this is a new era of programming. In the past, you had to remember all syntax and, understand the semantics and just memorize so much info. But today, all you have to do is decide to build something. If you have an idea, amazing. If you don't, whatever. And just go and build it. Just take action. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to learn and build something. So yeah, I think this is an amazing result for, in less than 90 minutes. So if you enjoyed it, please subscribe. And again, if you want me to make more videos in this style, let me know in the comments. Bye.